A former CIA agent who oversaw the capture of the man thought to be Al-Qaeda's third-in-command has been sentenced to 2.5 years in prison for leaking classified intelligence. John Kiriakou was the first to blow the whistle on Washington's torture program, later revealing the name of an alleged torturer at Guantanamo Bay. The CIA denied the accusations, referring instead to enhanced interrogation techniques. RT's Guantanamo has the details.
The CIA veteran, the former chief of counterterrorism operations in Pakistan, John Kiriakou, will spend 30 months in prison for leaking the identity of an agent. But before he was prosecuted, Mr. Kiriakou had been actively speaking out against torture. And now he and his supporters believe that he was prosecuted for coming clean over torture practices in the CIA. It started with an investigation into how military defense attorneys at Guantanamo Bay obtained the names and photographs of CIA personnel. Authorities eventually tracked one name back to a reporter who had spoken to Mr. Kiriakou. Rather than risk a far longer prison term, and because he could no longer afford his legal fees, Mr. Kiriakou in October agreed to plead guilty to one of the 5 charges against him, violating the Intelligence Identities Protection Act by emailing the name of a covert CIA officer to a freelance reporter who never even published it. There's something very disturbing about this case. Had John Kiriakou actually engaged in torture, he wouldn't be in any trouble at all. He never even would have been investigated. But because he talked about torture with reporters, he's going to prison. The fact of the matter is that the U.S. government has classified everything related to its torture practices, which means nobody can be prosecuted for human rights violations that were systematically committed at Guantanamo. Here is what Mr. Kiriakou says about that.
I never tortured anybody, but I'm heading to prison while the torturers and the lawyers who papered over it and the people who deceived it and the man who destroyed the proof of it, the tapes, will never face justice. And that's the saddest part of the story.
This administration has prosecuted more whistleblowers than all previous administrations combined, while protecting those who have committed torture, who have ordered torture, behind this wall of classification. Contrary to popular belief, President Obama didn't stop the United States from torturing. He just stopped it from torturing on his watch through an executive order, which means that the U.S. could be only another executive order away from some other president or vice president deciding to torture again.
So Kiriakou's supporters praise him for exposing the extent of the CIA's use of torture in prisons. And activist and author Sibel Edmonds says the U.S. classifies too much data, sometimes to cover up wrongdoing, and that means insiders making a stand will keep going to jail.
We do see this type of witch hunt action against those who leak information that exposes either government criminality or government waste, fraud, abuse. So this is a selective hunt. We haven't had a single case where whistleblowers have been successful by pursuing those so-called channels, bringing remedies or solutions to these very big problems, wrongdoings. So when you have no channels, there's only one option, and that is to take that information and put it before the public, whether through websites such as WikiLeaks or public citizens journalists, because as we know, mainstream media, they act as the extension of the government here in the United States. There are no other channels to go to, and the public has the right to know. And again, that is a very important key point. The public, and I'm not talking about only people here in the United States, but all over the world, because people are being affected. They are the ones who are being criminalized.